Now let us discuss about channel equalization. We can design the transmitting and receiving filters for digital PAM transmission when the frequency response characteristics of channel are known and its characteristics do not change with time. In practice, actually we often encounter channel whose frequency response characteristics are either known or change with the time. So now for example, in data transmission over the dial-up telephone network, the communication channel will be different every time we dial a number because a channel route will be different. Once a connection is made, however, the channel will be time invariant for a relatively long period of time. This is an example of a channel whose characteristics are unknown a priori. Example of time varying channels are radio channels such as ionospheric propagation channels. These channels are characterized by time varying frequency response characteristics. These types of channels demonstrate where the optimization of the transmitting and receiving filters is not possible. Now, under these circumstances, we may design the transmitting filter to have a square root raised cosine frequency response as shown, that is gt of f, that is equal to square root of xrc of f into e to the power minus j 2 pi f t naught, where mod of f, when mod of f is less than or equal to w, and it is equal to 0 when mod of f, that is greater than w, as shown in the equation. And the receiving filter with frequency response gr of f to be matched to gt of f. Therefore, the mod of gt of f into mod of gr of f, that is equal to xrc of f, where gr of f is the receiving filter frequency response and gt of f is the transmitting filter frequency response. Then due to channel distortion, the output of the receiving filter is represented as y of t, and that is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity an into x of t minus nt plus v of t, as shown in this equation, where x of t, that is equal to gt of t into c of t into gr of t. So now the filter output may be sampled periodically to produce the sequence ym, that is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity an x m minus n plus vm. Now by separating or by writing it separately, the n is equal to m terms and n is not equal to m terms, so we can write it as ym, that is equal to x naught am when n is equal to m plus summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity by not by considering n is equal to m terms, so, an into x m minus n plus vm. So we can write this equation. So where xn, that is equal to x of nt, where n is equal to 0 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 2, like that. So in the previous equation, the middle term on the right hand side of the equation represents the ISI or intersymbol interference. That is, in the above equation, summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, n is not equal to m, an x of m minus n. So this particular term that represents ISI or intersymbol interference. In any practical system, it is reasonable to assume that the ISI affects a finite number of symbols. So hence we may assume that xn, that is equal to 0 for n less than minus L1 and n greater than L2, where L1 and L2 are finite positive integers. Consequently, the ISI, that is intersymbol interference, observed at the output of the receiving filter may be viewed as being generated by passing the data sequence, that is AM, through an FIR filter with coefficients xn, minus L1 less than or equal to n less than or equal to L2, as shown in this figure. This filter is called the equivalent discrete time channel filter, since its input is the discrete information sequence, that is binary or M array. The output of the discrete time channel filter may be characterized as the output of a finite state machine with the L is equal to L1 plus L2 states, corrupted by additive Gaussian noise, we can say. So hence the noise-free output of the filter is described by a trellis having m to the power L states, as shown in the figure. The next topic is linear equalizers. Now, to compensate for the channel distortion, we may employ a linear filter with adjustable parameters. The filter parameters are adjusted on the basis of measurements of the channel characteristics. These adjustable filters are called channel equalizers or simply equalizers. On channel whose frequency response characteristics are unknown but time invariant, we may measure the channel characteristics, adjust the parameters of the equalizer, and once adjusted, the parameter remains fixed during the transmission of data. Such equalizers are called preset equalizers. On the other hand, adaptive equalizers, they update their parameters on periodic basis during the transmission of data. Initially, let us consider the design characteristics for a linear equalizer from a frequency domain viewpoint. Later, we will be discussing with a point with respect to the time domain viewpoint. The figure here shows a block diagram of the system that employs a linear filter as a channel equalizer. It actually represents a system with an equalizer. If you observe the figure, the input data is fed into the transmitting filter with a frequency response GT of f. Later, it is passed through a channel with the frequency response C of f. For this particular signal in the channel, noise will be added and it is represented as n of t. Later in the receiving section, it is received with the receiving filter with the frequency response. It is passed through a receiving filter with the frequency response gr of f. Later again, it is passed through an equalizer with the frequency response ge of f, and then it is given to the detector. As shown in the figure, the demodulator consists of a receiving filter with the frequency response gr of f in cascade with the channel equalizing filter that has a frequency response ge of f. And as we studied earlier, since gr of f is matched to gt of f, that is, the frequency response of the receiving filter is matched to the frequency response of the transmitting filter. So that means mod of ge of f must compensate for the channel distortion. This is what we understand from this representation. So here the equalizer frequency response must equal the inverse of the channel response. So this is very important. The equalizer frequency response must equal the inverse of the channel response, and that is ge of f, that is equal to 1 by c of f, and it can also be represented as 1 divided by mod of c of f into e to the power j theta c of f, where mod f should be less than or equal to w, where the term mod ge of f that is equal to 1 divided by mod C of f, and the equalizer phase characteristic, that is theta E of f, that is equal to minus of theta C of f. So here in this case, the equalizer is said to be the inverse channel filter to the channel response. It is very important point to note here that the inverse channel filter completely eliminates intersymbol interference, that is ISI, caused by the channel. Since it forces the ISI to be 0 at the sampling time t is equal to nt, the equalizer is called a zero forcing equalizer. So with this, the input to the detector is of the form Ym, that is equal to Am plus Vm. So where Vm is the noise component, which is zero mean Gaussian with variance, that is equal to sigma v square, that is equal to minus infinity to infinity Sn of f into mod of gr of f whole square into mod of ge of f whole square with respect to f. And it can also be written as integration from minus w to w, Sn of f into x mod of xrc of f divided by mod of c of f whole square with respect to f, because here ge of f, that is equal to 1 by c of f by considering the previous equation. And also we know that where Sn of f is a power spectral density of the noise. When the noise is white, Sn of f is equal to n0 by 2, this is we know, and the variance becomes, if you substitute this in the previous equation, sigma v square, that is equal to n0 by 2 integration from minus w to w mod xrc of f divided by c of f whole square with respect to f. So we can say in general the noise variance at the output of the zero forcing equalizer is higher than the noise variance at the output of the optimum receiver or receiving filter, that is gr of f, given by the previous equation for the case in which the channel is known. That is, if you know the channel characteristics. Now let us consider the design of a linear equalizer from a time domain viewpoint. So previously we have considered frequency domain viewpoint. Now let us consider time domain viewpoint. We noted previously that in real channels, the ISI, intersymbol interference, is limited to a finite number of samples, say L samples, L number of samples. So now as a consequence, in practice, the channel equalizer is approximated by a finite duration impulse response, that is FIR filter, or transversal filter, okay, with the adjustable tap coefficients represented as Cn, as illustrated in the figure shown next, that is linear transversal filter. The linear transversal filter representation is shown in the figure. As shown in the figure, the time delay tau between adjacent taps may be selected as large as capital T. The symbol interval in which case the FIR equalizer is called a symbol spaced equalizer. In this case, the input to the equalizer is the sampled sequence. However, we note that when 1 by t is less than 2w, frequencies in the received signal above the folding frequency, that is 1 by t, are aliased into frequencies below 1 by t. In this case, the equalizer compensates for the aliased channel distorted signal. Now on the other hand, when the time delay tau between adjacent taps is selected such that 1 by tau is greater than or equal to 2w is greater than 1 by t. So here in this case no aliasing occurs, and hence the inverse channel equalizer compensates for the true channel distortion. So since tau is less than t, the channel equalizer is said to have fractionally spaced taps, and it is called a fractionally spaced equalizer. In practice, tau is often selected as tau is equal to t by 2. So this is the practical value what we consider for tau. Notice that in this case the sampling rate at the output of the filter, that is gr of f, that is equal to 2 by t. So in this case the impulse response of the FIR equalizer is represented as GE of t, that is equal to summation n is equal to minus capital N to n Cn into del of t minus n tau. And the corresponding frequency response is given by the equation GE of f, that is equal to summation n is equal to minus n to n Cn into e to the power minus j 2 pi fn tau, as shown in the equation, where Cn are the 2n plus 1 equalizer coefficients, and the other requirement is 2n plus 1 should be greater than or equal to L. That is, the n is chosen sufficiently large so that the equalizer spans the length of the ISI, that is intersymbol interference. Since x of f, that is equal to gt of f into c of f into gr of f, and x of t is the signal pulse corresponding to x of f as we studied earlier, then the equalized output signal pulse is represented as q of t, and that is equal to summation n is equal to minus n to n Cn into x of t minus n tau. So now the zero forcing condition can now be applied to the samples of q of t taken at times t is equal to mt, and these samples are represented as q of mt, that is equal to summation n is equal to minus n to n Cn into x of mt minus n tau, where the value for m that can be given as m is equal to 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, like that till plus or minus n. Since there are 2n plus 1 number of equalizer coefficients, we can control only 2n plus 1 sampled values of q of t. Specifically, we may force the conditions q of mt, that is equal to summation n is equal to minus n to n Cn into x of mt minus n tau, that is equal to 1 for m is equal to 0, and that is equal to 0 for all other values of m, that is m is equal to plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2 till plus or minus n, which may be expressed in matrix form as xc, that is equal to q, where x is a 2n plus 1 cross 2n plus 1 matrix with elements that is x of mt minus n tau, okay, and the c is the 2n plus 1 coefficient vector, and q is the 2n plus 1 column vector with one non-zero element. This is very important. Thus, we obtain a set of 2n plus 1 linear equations for the coefficients of the zero forcing equalizer. So now we should emphasize that the FIR zero forcing equalizer does not completely eliminate ISI, that is intersymbol interference, because it has a finite length. So this is already we know. So however, as n is increased, the residual ISI, that is intersymbol interference, can be reduced, and in the limit as n tends to infinity, the ISI, that is intersymbol interference, is completely eliminated. and we know that this is practically impossible, that is n 10 going to infinity is practically impossible. So we can say that the FIR zero forcing equalizer does not completely eliminate intersymbol interference, ISI, because it has a finite length.